You all right? Welcome. Let me take care of the business here. Let's see here. Yeah, this is it right here. We go to studio. This is always such a pain to get it up and rolling.
How's it going, John Miller?
I hear you, but I can't see you yet. Let me,
We're talking amongst ourselves.
yeah.
I said, "How you doing, John Miller?"
I'm
Oh,
doing well, and you?
Fair to Midland.
I tried, I tried to, I don't have your email address for some reason.
You don't have mine?
Yeah,
Here.
all right. I got that up and going now. Close this out. Get this going. Oh, I should have left that open. The problem is that. Is there any way, Steve, for you to watch the chat?
Yeah, I can. Let me get it going here. I just replied to our last email, John. So you'll get one coming in from me from my email address.
oh, I'll get it in my normal email account.
Yeah,
Good.
The Joe Bell crank.
Yeah, yeah. You won't believe what I did, Steve.
What?
I accidentally hit the wrong button at the wrong time. I'm having to reload all of my drawings back in.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, 10 hours. Yeah, yeah. 27,000 files. You won't.
All right. 27. One button you could do that with?
Yep, I just happened to hit the button the the master button at the wrong time in the wrong place. It just
Did they not just end up in your recycle bin where you could restore
no
them?
no they're there, but I'm trying to now put them back in order. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
You didn't lose them, you just moved
no,
them.
I didn't lose them. I just have to move them back.
Yeah.
All you have to do is hit restore and they'll go back where they were.
Too late now. I learn something new every day. Where's restore?
Go to the recycle bin, and then right click and hit restore.
Oh,
A little
You see
chilly
it?
in the basement. I'm gonna go get some long pants before we get too deep into this.
yeah. No, I didn't go there. I know where you mean now.
Right click and then hit restore, and it'll go right in.
Yeah.
But you're gonna, if you had any other stuff in there, you're gonna have to delete that. Any other trash
Yeah.
you didn't empty.
Well, I've already got the move process going, and I know they're safe, so I'll just go continue with what I got. I'll know better next time I do it. And I'm sure I'll do it again because I got a little tremor on my fingers, from my accident. And sometime if I'm not far enough off the button, I might accidentally hit it. So that's coming along pretty good there, Bob.
Yeah, this is the last piece. We're gonna glass the cowl tonight, and then tomorrow my height gauge will get here, and I'll start putting it together.
Cool. Hi, Gary. I don't think he hears me yet.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay.
Hear me? Okay.
Okay, there you are. Boy, it's quite the shirt you got on there, bud.
Yeah, everybody likes that shirt.
I got one that's got airplanes all over it,
Oh yeah, yeah, I got one
Yeah,
of them too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I can hear you and you can hear me, right?
And the real Steve Smith is changing into some long pants, getting into his big boy pants now.
Oh, all right.
And Bob is about 10 times further than I'd be along in the same amount of time.
So how do I look?
It's looking good.
Look pretty good. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he might know how to build an airplane, you know?
yeah,
Add a little,
I got a new computer and it's fast.
oh yeah.
So yeah, so I don't have to fight it.
Ah, good. Yeah, I picked up a new to me, a desktop, Windows 11 on it. And it's
Yeah, I got
sitting over
Windows
there.
11.
I'm going to have to get it all set up and that, and then I go sit in my easy chair in the living room and get on here.
Tony
Yeah.
Dallas says hello, everyone.
Who's that?
Tony Dallas.
Hello, Tony Dallas.
Wonder if he ever found his phone.
Well, I had a strange thing happen with my telephone today.
It
I
turned
got
into a drone and went flying over New Jersey.
yeah,
Yeah. Is that what
yeah.
you guys are doing?
No, I got a scam call from somebody claiming that their head out they wanted to give me info or search for information for me on benefits and my VA loan.
Yeah,
And
that you don't have?
well, I do have a VA loan, but
Oh,
I told him, well, I'm happy with what I got or not in here. So we just want to give you information. You know, do you this or that and what? And I says, I ain't giving you any information about my personal business. I don't know who you are. And I said, goodbye, you know. And so anyway, my phone didn't work. I didn't hear a sound all day on my phone. So when come to try to make a phone call out, my phone was locked. I don't know if it was something that I did or something that they did, but I
something
had
you
to,
did.
well, I wound up having to all I did was hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Can't imagine it'd be something I did anyway, but whatever it was, I wound up being able to get in there and restart the phone or what do you call it, reboot it, and everything worked fine after that.
Those damn drones is what it was.
It's the darn drones, yeah, that electromagnetic. They tell me that they aren't even actually using regular radio waves. They're using electromagnetic waves, you know?
Huh.
So if that is true, then it's a brand new technology or one that's
Where are you hearing this?
on the news.
Huh. You don't believe nothing on the news.
That's an oxymoron.
Well, the intelligence, military intelligence is the oxymoron.
Yeah, but the news is
Oh.
not. It's not. If you see it on the news, nobody's trying to inform you of anything. They're trying to influence what you think.
Well, I agree with that. But being a ham radio operator, you know, is what I'm trying to say is I understand a little bit about radio frequency and how they work.
Right.
And if they can't do anything with it, then whatever they're doing is a newer type of either modulation or coding or whatever that they're doing, and they may be way high up in the spectrum somewhere where we've never been before, or they could be really low, you know, I don't know, but really low takes a really long antenna, transmitting antenna and receiving antenna. And so I would suspect that it's point of sight and it's, you know, in the, not gigahertz, but what's next after gigahertz.
Gigawatts.
Well,
not gigawatts,
I mean-
gigahertz.
No, gigawatts.
my understanding is that radio waves are a form of electromagnetic wave.
They are. They are.
So to say that they're not using radio waves, they're using electromagnetic waves.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say, or what I was trying to say was they are. I'm getting it from the news, and as you pointed out, the news doesn't always know what the hell they're talking about. And so, but what may be happening is that the command control on those things is so high up, it's way up above where we're using. You know, probably even approaching perhaps in the nanos, you know. So which
So
puts it more to electromagnetic than to the regular radio hertz waves, you know.
I mean, my logic loop starts with, do I really believe that there's something happening that the powers that be don't understand or don't know about
Oh, I
already?
agree with you. They
No,
know
I don't.
exactly what's happening, you know.
And if they didn't know if it really was this thing that they didn't, what the hell is this? Do you know what they'd say? They'd deny it was happening.
Well,
They-
that's
The
what they've
fact
done
that
for
they would
years.
admit that there's something going on and they don't know anything about it. That's
Well, they actually have. They just came out this afternoon. Somebody high up in somewhere that was making the comment. Well, we really don't think that this is really happening because we haven't had any verifiable, confirmed sightings. You know, that kind of
I
stuff.
guess movies
Yeah.
and pictures aren't good enough, huh? Because I've
No,
already.
no, and people testifying that you know, I saw 6 of them. You know,
well, 6 of what? 6 of some lights?
lights, yeah, in the sky, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but
heard
I've seen pictures of them already. They've had cameras that zoomed in close.
and what do
Yeah.
they look like?
Uh, it doesn't look like a quadcopter, but it kind of looks like one of our military drones, like I don't know, a weird looking thing, but it's definitely a drone. But it's not a quadcopter.
So does it have wings?
No.
Mm-mm.
But it's not multi-rotor.
Got 4 of them.
Yeah, it has
It's not-
4 something on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You seen them, Gary?
Yeah, I've seen the pictures there on the screen here.
Where?
Yeah.
Where are the pictures?
Well, there's YouTube videos of it, even.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, they blow it way up because it's real grainy. You know, the outside around these lights and everything is kind of real
That's one
grainy.
thing I
there,
don't
so-
understand. You know, a regular camera like a Nikon or a Sony or whatever, they'll take great pictures in low light. Even your phone takes non-grainy pictures. Why can't they ever get a good picture?
Because
And
there's a pixel rate going on in a digital camera, and that's the governing factor, how far you can zoom in on it. So when you zoom in really tight on something with a real high zoom rate, you're getting into where it's pixelated because the pixels are getting so darn big that you're losing fidelity.
Yeah, but phone cameras are better than regular cameras.
Up to the point, it depends on how many megapixels they're capable of.
Thought it was gigawatts.
Now gigawatts is
Gigawatt.
power.
That's electric. Yeah.
Gigawatts is power. Watts is a definition of power in electromotive force.
You're taking me too seriously.
I thought it was
Oh.
121 point gigawatts.
Yeah, gigawatts. I misspoke. I meant to say gigawatts. Right at 88 miles per hour.
Right.
Oh no. Well, light is up in the nanosphere or whatever they call it. And you, that's about as high a frequency as we know of, I think, up in the light area.
I have a feeling, I mean, anytime something like this happens where it's like a national sensation, I ask myself, what are they trying to distract me from?
Yeah, what are they hiding?
Well, yeah, well,
They
the
want me,
last time,
you're like, look over here, see this, see this?
yeah, yeah. Don't pay
Meanwhile, over
attention
here,
to the
they're
man
doing
behind the
something.
curtain, yeah.
Yeah,
But the last time this happened, it was over some balloons, remember?
Yeah.
I mean, didn't it end up being a whole bunch of nothing?
No,
Ended up being the Chinese spy balloon. That's all it was.
I mean,
They
what
actually
exactly are
shot
you
that
gonna,
one down when it got over water.
what exactly are you gonna achieve with a spy balloon that you couldn't use the ultra high resolution satellite imagery that covers every square inch of the planet as we know it already?
shake up people, let them know that they're dominant.
Yeah. That and the fact that they may not have access to high enough resolution yet. They can only steal stuff so far fast.
I mean, who makes the chips that are in everything that's electronic?
The Taiwanese.
I mean, so they really need to steal anything? It's kind of like they made it. They probably have a back door to see whatever they want.
Probably.
Well, no,
I think Bob hit the nail on the head,
but
just letting us know they're there and that they can do it.
I mean, I guess if that's the case, then why worry about it?
Well, I don't think there'll ever be an invasion on our soil. And
Well, we already have one.
yeah, I mean a military invasion. The reason being is that, like Hirohito said, behind every blade of grass is a gun. I don't think I want to go there.
Well, there's another ancient, I don't, some kind of general back in the days for the Greeks and the Roman, well, before the Romans, the Greeks and the Spartans and then Chinese, and he said something about the fifth column, and the Trojan horses, fifth column movement. You get some elements of your forces inside the city walls, and you got them half beat already. And so that's how I look at it. We don't know who all's been let in the country.
Have any of you guys been keeping up with the discussion on the forum about, saving control
Yeah,
and all that?
it comes up about every 5 years.
Yeah, no big deal.
That all the more, I would have thought it'd been more often than that.
It comes up a lot, but in this at this particular type and size, and it's about every five. It seems like about every 5 years they get really into it. You know, I think I read something today on that makes me think that uh, somebody, I believe, kind of hit the nail on the head. The slow death, or not slow death, but the slow depreciation in our numbers occurred when we got kicked out of the schoolyards. We were not then put out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody,
I've been saying that for the last 20 years.
yeah, me too.
And I don't think it's a matter of nobody knows about it.
No, that's not the point. They know about us, but when we were kids, us, I don't know about you because you're not as old as us, but
Right.
you'd hear a model airplane start up and you'd jump on your bicycle and rush to the school, see what's going on. Now there's none of that going on.
Yeah, but you know why you did that? Because it was new. It was the new exciting thing. But it's not anymore.
Yeah, well, that may
Not the
be.
new exciting thing. I mean, I don't say that to be derogatory, just being realistic. To kids nowadays, what's new and exciting to them is completely different than what was new and exciting when you were younger. And I'm
Well,
kind of right in the middle. So I got into model airplanes as, 11-year-old kid, but by then RC was already a thing, and I'd look right past control line because it wasn't the new and exciting thing, and I went to RC. And
well,
nowadays they got
RC was,
racing drones and they got, you know,
yeah,
robot
RC was around,
battles. and-
RC was around at that time, Steve, but the problem with RC in those days was it was very unreliable.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It really, by the time, 1980 roughly, I'm just to pick a point in
Mhm.
time, it's kind of when I got going. It
Mhm.
wasn't unreliable by then,
No, it was very good. And it's only gotten better, actually,
and cheaper
and cheaper.
and
I
That's,
think
easier.
another thing that's been a problem is that there's no more trade in school. You don't have wood shop, auto shop, metal shop, drafting. Did you have that, Steve?
Well, the school that I went to didn't have that, but I believe it was being done in school still, kids my age got that depending on where they went to school. I went to a Catholic grade school, so any extra, anything other than reading, writing, and arithmetic was Jesus stuff. And
yeah.
I went to college prep high school. So again, it was more about the academic side and less about, hands-on. I mean, South County Technical High School. I have friends that went there, and it sounds like they got to do all that fun stuff. Kind of is the main course of action there.
No, high school in my era, my senior year of school was auto shop, metal shop, wood shop, drafting, physical education, back to auto shop, and then back to metal shop. I didn't. That was because
Yeah.
all my requirements were fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's there's been a there's been a there's been a major shift in the way we educate our kids. That's fact. They're not getting when we were kids, not all the kids went to college or had the opportunity to go to college. So they did a lot of things to introduce them into the various trades. And they're not doing that. It's all college prep now for
Well,
the most part.
there's a definite resurgence of what you're talking about now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't have any kids, but I have friends that do. And I said, man, I think, well, as a matter of fact, one friend I know, when his son was graduating from high school, he said, you can go to college if you want, and we'll pay for that. Or how about we buy you a van and all the tools to be a plumber or something like that and get you
yeah.
started on a path like that. And, I don't think in the ethos, the kids are learning that that's probably a smarter way to go is, do a trade and don't get a bunch of debt to go to school. They still have it. I was
Yep.
probably one of the earlier generations where they beat it into our head that if you want to be anything in life, you better go to college. Like
Yep.
you're
Yep.
you're going to be in a ditch if you don't do you said. But I think we're starting to
I'll
pull
tell you
back
what,
on that.
as you probably know, plumbers make pretty decent
Oh
wage.
yeah, yep,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And try to find one when you need one. They're all busy.
yep, yep. That's definitely a smart move if you ask
Same
me.
same goes with electricians.
Electricians. Yeah.
Same goes with surveyors. Same goes with most of the construction trades, to be honest with you, except for drywall. Drywall is the trade of choice for immigrants coming across the border.
I thought I was roofing. I just,
Roofing is the other one, but
I just had a roof put on my house 2 days ago, so that's kind of fresh in my mind.
yeah,
We have, in West Virginia, we have technical college, technical schools for high schoolers. So if
Yeah.
you're a junior or a senior, you can go to those, and they've got quite a bit of options to take. And one of them we're adding is we've added the aerospace. So we have one area to where here where I live, where you can go and start your airframe and power plant mechanic schooling or flying when you're a junior, and do
Oh,
a
that's
half a day.
great.
And
You know, when I was in high school, we had a kid come over, his family moved here, immigrated from Germany. He's the same age I was, but he,
What, 103?
103, yeah. And he told me that in Germany, when he was 14, it was required that he took a battery of tests.
yep,
And of those tests, there was determined whether you went into this area, or you went into the college, or you went into what program of education you followed. And if you
Yeah.
think about it, many of the European countries are that way. And I think it has served them well to have that. Because
Sounds like socialism.
well, you didn't have to. You could do what you wanted, but this was the recommended way. Socialism would be you have to do this.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
I asked a question on that thread that really nobody answered. And my question was, so if you presume, I'm just going to make up some numbers here. So let's say in 2024, if you got 1,000 kids, maybe 5 of them are going to become interested in model aviation, right?
Yeah.
So of those 5, how many of them are going to come fly control line versus go do something, race a drone? Or so, what's the value proposition for control line in 2024? How do you
Well,
say this is where you need to be instead of there?
that is a good question, and the only answer I have for it is all modeling. And when you're learning into one, it's just like yourself. You went into RC, and now you're experimenting into the control. And you still got your RC background, but you're learning more, and you're beginning to explore into control line, and that means that you are progressing through you might in 10 years you might be doing indoor free flight. Who knows? You know what I'm trying to say? But it's all modeling, and that's what we have to look at, is perhaps not worry so much about whether they come into this genre or that genre, but that they get involved in modeling.
Yep.
Thread is not about that, though. That thread is specifically about how to get more people.
Yeah, you're right. That thread is specifically about
And
control line. Yeah.
there are some, I mean, there are some segments of, I guess, RC airplanes that don't do too badly. I don't know, there's a flight test. Have you guys heard of flight test?
Yeah.
Started, was a YouTube channel, and now it's then they had a store online, and it's kind of morphed into a whole culture of its own where they build everything out of those foam board,
Yeah.
Dollar Tree foam board. They got a giant event they have every year,
Oh yeah.
and it's all
Yeah.
kids. It's kids everywhere. So
Yep.
They bought a
Well,
golf
see,
course.
what those kids are learning, whether they're even though they're learning how to scratch field, they're learning how to take an idea, they're learning how to make it work. And it all relates to the hobby and the sport of modeling, model airplanes, model whatever, boats, trains, cars,
Yeah.
It is essential. If you want to hook them in my opinion, you hook them in by giving them the big picture, let them make a choice. They'll hone in on the parts that interest them. We can't force that on them, but when they find something that interests them, they will delve into it. you know, McEntee's son, when I remember him when he was just, 7 or 8 years old at the SIG contest. He went in a career in the 30 years in the Army, flew drones for the Army. And I don't mean multi-props. I mean, he flew the nasty ones. And today he flew control line. He was pretty good stunt pilot. He came out. He flies competitive free flight right now in Colorado, and that's great.
Also, you got light speed flight demonstration team. Have you guys heard of that one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Oh, is that where they
It's-
got the drones?
It's RC.
Oh, they
No,
do
it's RC,
gym
but
stuff.
all they do out of Oklahoma, they go around to schools and in the gym, they fly demonstrations for them and that.
But I
And
guess this, all this stuff though, is none of it is control line. So I mean, that was my whole question was, they're not saying how can we get more people to go fly RC? That's not what Stunt Hangar people want.
Well,
They want people to come fly control line.
well, somebody's got to get out there and make it happen. And Bob
So-
Hunt had a good comment the other day. You can have all kinds of stuff out there, but you got to have the market for it. You got to get the kids going. So I'm trying to for 2026 have a control line contest and that in my area. And I'm not sure how I'm going to promote it. I'm starting with the schools right now. I'm on an advisory for the schools in regards to STEM program. And so I'm trying to find out how can I organize some competition and that. So Mark Radcliffe and I, when he was the VP for Area 3, we did FPG9s with the AMA with middle schools, and each middle school brought 5 students, and we had 5 teams to see who could make an FPG9 fly, the farthest or something. And they really had a ball with it. And then COVID hit, so that kind of put a stop to all that.
Yeah.
Until now. So you look at the way I see it, somebody's got to get out there, and we got to have to try to make an event and hope. But how do you get people to come? How do you get them interested?
Well,
So that's what I'm working on.
you touch on another point there, though, and that we've lost. Back when we were growing and things were, we call it the heyday, the golden age, whatever, we had a lot of communication, written communication. Now, for instance, Bob here was the editor for Flying Models. Flying Models is gone. Model Builders is gone. The only one we got left is Model Aviation, and they're doing the best they can. But there's problems. We don't have articles on so many articles on building and flying in control line or free flight, or we don't have you don't have the plan of the month that we used to have, things like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I remember long before I was ever able to fly, going to the library in 3rd grade and sitting in the corner with all the model airplane news and going through every one of them, because I was interested in it. And I was interested in the articles on construction. So I don't know, we don't have that. Where do new designs get notoriety?
It's going to be hard to compete against an airplane under $100 that you can fly RC. That's ready to go.
And these little what are they, EPN or EPR foamies, that little,
The little drone. Yeah.
Yeah, those things might be where we should be looking at and trying to get people hooked. Those things can be flown in a school, on the basketball court in a school, at a rally, not rally, what do you call it, assembly. And that might be one of the best ways to present it to people, because they're not expensive. And with the electric and everything, the danger factor, perceived danger fact of a finger nibbler is not there. And it, you know, we don't know, we got to have people like you that are willing to say, well, let me put out some effort, and see what I could do. Maybe you can.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky around here because NASA has a rocket program. Our high school has an engineering 3-year engineering course to prepare you for college if you so desire. And they design their own rockets, they design their own planes, they design their own underwater vehicles. And I get invited to every time they have it finalized, and we go there and they show us on how they designed it, what it can do and what it can't do. So yeah,
Mhm.
but that's just NASA and one high school, but there's also more and more other programs. And of course, they're in this area, they're big on STEM, which we've probably all been saying for years and stuff. So, and some people were asking, when's shop going to come back?
Yeah,
And I went the same route as Sparky there. Mechanical drawing, no such thing as a computer. Mechanical drawing, wood shop, metal shop.
yeah, me too.
And I was making money in my junior and senior year building furniture for people and selling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Built a dining room table for $6 and made a whole $90 out of oak.
There you go.
I was thrilled.
Yeah, you could buy one of the best IC engines that were around for that.
Oh, heck.
And
That was
enough
enough to buy
balls of
quite a
wood to
bit.
build 3 or 4 airplanes.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, and it was mentioned in that forum post that you mentioned, Steve, is we don't have. I remember like 15 or more years ago in Stunt News, they were talking about Builder the model, and somebody said, well, what do you got to do if you really want to be Builder the model? You got to make your own tank, make your own wheels, make your own bell crank, all of that kind of stuff. And by God, here we are, we're doing that. We're having to do it because we don't have the suppliers that we used to have.
Well, one of the things I like about Control Line is RC pretty much is I'm getting tired of it, of trying to completely update everything, so you have to buy to stay ahead, whereas we're still building kits from the 50s, 60s,
Yeah,
and stuff, and using the motors.
Well, you can
And
still do that
so-
with RC.
What's
There's
that?
there's nothing that says you can't still build from the 50s and 60s RC airplanes.
Yeah, you can, but who's doing it?
Well, I mean, or moreover, who's stopping you?
Nobody's stopping me.
Guys, want to hear my 2 cents? I mean, my 2 cents will turn into about $5.60 if you want me to do the whole spiel, because I've gone through this a million times.
I
I
just
can imagine.
Want to hear it? I won't do it.
Oh yeah.
All right. This is a multi-part thing, so bear with me.
all right.
We can't identify the audience. You're not identifying your audience correctly. We're identifying it through our eyes and our memories. Kids today have their own reality. We had ours, they have theirs. We were entitled to ours, they're entitled to theirs. They actually like what they're doing on computers, and the things that they're doing, they actually enjoy doing. They're not into analog hobbies. They're into electronics. That's how they grew up. And it's not their fault. It's just the world they grew up in. We grew up in a world right after most of us here, with maybe Steve. How old are you, Steve?
52.
Now you're a kid, okay, but you still on the cusp of it. We all grew up basking in the romance of the aviation age of World War II, the fighter pilots, and all the stuff that spun off of that. Sky King, everything in our life was aviation. I lived near Newark, New Jersey when I grew up, and every day I remember being in the crib. I was 18 at the time. I remember being in a crib. That's how vivid the memory was. And hearing these reciprocal airplanes coming, DC-6s and DC-7s and Constellations, you could hear them coming. They'd pass over, the windows would shake a little, and then they go past and you'd hear them off into the distance. Then another one would come. And that was my reality. And that was reality for a lot of us. There were private airports around. We had TV shows about airplanes, movies about airplanes. We loved aviation. Today, the average kid can get on a airliner, travel from New York to California, get off, and very possibly never see the airplane he's traveling on. To kids today, aviation is a speck in the sky, 40,000 feet in the air. They're not going to get excited about aviation. It's just, they have a different reality, and they're entitled to it. Okay, so now, if you want to get a next generation of this, I've thought a little bit about this. I'm not saying I'm right, but these are my ideas. This is a visceral sport, control line. You don't get it until you get your hand in the handle and feel the life of the airplane at the end of the lines. That's what the hook is. You know, you can watch it and they'll say, well, it's a rock on a string. Until you get your hand in the handle and you feel the airplane react to the little control input, you feel the wind, you feel the turbulence, all of a sudden you're flying an airplane. We all know that. They don't know it. So how do you get the experience? Well, a lot of guys have tried. I know Dan McGenty and a whole bunch of people up in Wisconsin have tried at EAA, and of course at Joe Knoll. You have places where they can get their hand in the handle, and the problem is there's no follow-up. They write their name and address down, and nothing comes of that. AMA doesn't follow up on that and send out literature or anything. Everybody wants to start a program. Programs don't work because somebody's got to run the program. The only program that actually works is each one, teach one. You find someone who has some interest or develop that interest, and you teach that person everything that you know, and then charge them in their lifetime to teach one or two more. And if everybody took on that program, a personal program, you might find you get some people going. I said to Mark, what we ought to do is come up with a booklet that explains what we do, and not a trite thing, not like that pamphlet that's very superficial. Something that actually gets into the meat and potatoes. You know, how do you get involved? What it costs? What you need to do, and then have on the cover of that little booklet a place where you can put your phone number and your email address. And if anybody comes to the field while you're flying and shows any interest whatsoever, you give them one of those booklets. Now, if it's a kid, you have to, you know, and you should also have an airplane in the car that's ready to fly. So you can give them an instant visceral experience. They can instantly feel the airplane at the end of the lines. We used to be able to do that with kids, but you can't anymore. If a kid comes out there and you go out there and you put your hand on his shoulder, the cops are going to come, you know, to guide him around the circle. You can't do that anymore. With an adult, you can. So you tell the kid, here's a booklet, go home and show this to your parents. Here's my number and my email address. If you know, you want to learn to fly and they want to learn to fly, call me up. I'll meet you at the field and I'll teach you to fly. And then if you decide you want to build, I'll teach you to build. You can come to my house or whatever. We'll teach you to do it. But that's what it takes, is that each one teach one thing. I have a number of guys around here that come here and build, and they've learned to build, you know, step by step, painstakingly over years, and they become noted flyers. Buddy Weeder is a good example, you know. But that's my 2 cents, is that the only program that works is one where we find someone and teach them ourselves, and then do it again and again if we have to.
Yeah,
That's kind of the way it was back then. Yeah.
Yeah. This year's expo, I put an extra block on our sign-in sheet. Are you interested in a model club? And I had quite a few say they're interested. So I made contact with one of the high schoolers that he said, let me help you. And I'm just now getting started because of the surgery, as far as contacting them during the Christmas holiday when they're not in school, and try to get one or two and do exactly what Bob is saying. You know, this is what we're going to do.
You're one guy.
Right.
We need everybody to do the exact same thing. Or we have to come to the realization that they don't make buggy whips anymore. And maybe we're seeing the end of this great hobby. And maybe it's important that we enjoy what's left of it rather than lamenting the end of it.
Yep.
My 2 cents.
Here
Have they
comes
not
Mark.
been saying this same thing for the last 25 or 30 years? Every year, 30 years worth.
Mhm.
End of control line, end of control line.
I knew I heard it someplace, you know.
Well, shoot, they were saying this much of the same about the end of control line clear back in the early 50s.
Well, it's not the end of it, but what we're talking about is diminishing, and nobody can argue that fact.
Well, yeah, we're all dying off. I mean, what the heck, 10
Yeah,
years
and
from now,
there's
I
nobody to
probably won't
replace
be
us.
here.
And if there's for every 10 of us or every 100 of us, if we get one to replace us, that's pretty good. Where years ago, it used to be you go out to a ball field to start an airplane engine, and you'd have 30 kids out there, and they'd all want to learn how to fly. That's not going to happen now. Hey, you can't go to fields and fly airplanes anymore because you get thrown out.
Right.
That's a shame. Glad I don't have that in my area.
So I hate to be the harbinger of doom, but we got to also look at this from a realistic point of view. If we're going to save this thing, or not save it, but if we're going to prolong it, we're going to have to be realistic about our goals.
Mark Weiss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi,
Mark.
guys.
Good evening.
Seems like I picked a perfect time to dive in. Huh?
We set you up.
Yeah, I set him up.
No,
Did you get my email just a couple of minutes ago to come on?
no, but if I'm reading you guys right, talking about the future of control line, whatever that means, and Steve Smith up here got a hold of me a few days ago, and that was the topic, and I think the guy that Steve spoke to is someone that you know, Bob. Someone who builds, I guess he can be in the business of making some kits.
Mark Lannerman.
There you go. And then about a day later, I got a call from Mark Romanowitz about basically the same subject, that we need to form he said a SIG, an organization to be at the grassroots level, not at the Nats level. And I know Jim Barry did some work on it up in New England and found someone who's also willing to make it. And I think it was pretty much like the one you designed, Bob.
Yeah, it was the Park Cat that Dick Sarpolis and I designed for Park Pilot magazine. Just a good little airplane.
Yeah, it is. And I've battled with this for, I don't know, I guess 3 years now. The deck is not stacked in our favor. So you can either say, well, since it's not stacked in our favor, we really shouldn't get too excited about it. Let it take its natural course. And there are a lot of people that believe that. I'm stubborn. I'm not one. I imagine the future of control line may end up being like a future of free flight and some other carrier. I don't know. I just hate to see that happen, at least while I'm alive.
There is one bright spot to this. There's one thing to look possibly forward to, and history repeats itself. And there's a pendulum effect at everything. The pendulum only swings so far in one direction before it hits a pin and goes back in the other direction. Over the years, we've seen analog sports and hobbies, bicycling, roller skating, fade out and then come back big because people are looking for something to do. So
Yep.
We may be at a point now where kids are tired of living in cyberspace, and when they turn off their computer, there's nothing left. It's gone. They have nothing tangible to show for it. They may get to a point where they want to do something with their mind and their hands again, and the pendulum will start to swing the other way. It's not going to happen completely in our lifetimes, but maybe it'll start to happen if we help push that pendulum just a little bit.
Yeah,
But again, it's an each one teach one thing. You can't do it with somebody running a program. It's got to be individual programs run by every modeler out there to get somebody else involved, teach them, and then tell them in their lifetime to teach one or two more.
Yeah, I happen to believe that. And I think the best thing we have going for us is electric power. I think without electric power, without hobby shops, without people making glow plugs, that's a tough tough thing. Plus the noise, is not
Plus the fact that
conducive.
kids today are electronically aware, and they're, the electric is a natural thing for them to go to,
Yeah.
because they, have computers and have RC electric cars and everything else. It's a natural thing for them. Glow, think about it. We all grew up learning glow, how to plumb a tank, how to set up a head shims, what plug to run, what prop to run, how to get the thing to run. Tell a kid today that he's got to learn how to plumb a tank and learn how to make a glow engine run versus set something up according to a little diagram, push a button and fly. What's he going to take?
Yeah.
What
Well,
direction is he going to go?
Steve and I talked about it. Mark and I talked about it. And then I had a Zoom meeting last night with two of the committees. So there may have been about 8 guys on there. By the way, not quite off topic, but I found out last night that Matt Cullen is moving to Illinois.
Well,
So he's going from one windy city to another.
going to work out of Chicago?
I don't know exactly where he's going to be, but I'm sure it's in some FAA tower somewhere, and it must be better for his family. So, obviously we're excited for him, and I need to find someone else for District 8, I think that would be. Oh, but anyway, I'm not sure that this forum isn't a really good place, to kick this thing around. And I guess what I mean by that is, I believe it absolutely falls under AMA. However, I'm not sure they would pick this up and run with it. I don't know. I'm doubting it. I could see them doing more toward RC or drones than control line. It's just a matter of diminishing returns.
Look what they're doing with drones in New Jersey right now. They're very, very successful.
Yeah. But I think if we would break it down and then you, one of the things at AMA, it was interesting, Bob, there was a meeting a while back. I remember some of the statistics, and one of them was, and it was no surprise to me. I think I've told the group before that each year, the last several years, AMA has brought in 12,000 new members. Okay, 12,000. I'd be tickled at 1%. Okay, that'd be 120. Interestingly, less than 20% renew the second year. Okay, so I would imagine most of those people are either RC or maybe drones and maybe a scattering of other things. And probably they're not getting hooked up with anyone. So that they enter this on their own, they're leaving it on their own. They probably have a bad taste. So it's an interesting thing, and that's why the idea of an organization may be to head this effort to bring new people in is the right idea.
Well, many years ago, John Brodak called me right before he ran for president of PAPA. And he said, Bob, do you think I should run for PAPA president? I said, no, you're not a stunt flyer. You don't know the politics and the people and what's going on in that realm. Somebody was whispering in his ear to take that and do it for whatever purpose.
Right.
And I told John, he said, what do you think? I said, no, but I think what you should do and would be very welcomed by everybody, AMA and every other SIG, would be to start a general control line sport SIG. And then people could go in there and learn all the particulars about how to do the rudimentary building things and flying things and set up things and learn all this stuff. And then as they tend to gravitate towards one competition discipline or another, they could join either PAPA or MACA or whatever, and we could have like a farm team for control line, And he didn't do that. I thought that would have been a natural thing for him to do. He had the resources, he had the interest, and he decided to try to change PAPA into a general control line interest, and that's where the problem started. He came in halfway through the movie, and he didn't realize that what was going on.
Yeah.
And I can't blame him, but we are all the SIGs are AMA sanctioned SIGs to address their particular discipline. In our case, control line stunt. That's our commission, is to be the control line stunt special interest organization in AMA,
Right.
not a general control line or organization. There isn't one. Maybe we need one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I would tend to not agree as an outsider that you need a general control line organization. I feel like, so remember, I came from RC. The appealing thing from my perspective about control line was the fact that there were a variety of very specific and organized competitive events. Maybe they didn't have to be competitive, but there's something that you're out there. There's a goal. You're flying for a reason. You aren't just aimlessly boring holes in the sky. And I feel like if you just want to play with a model airplane, there are a lot easier, cheaper, and ways to do it that you're not nearly as limited as you can be flying a tethered model. But when you start talking about introducing the stunt event, or let's say combat or things like that, that's where control line starts to make more sense, because look at it like learning a musical instrument, right? It's a very specific skill. You get a sense of accomplishment as you get better at this. There's ways to measure how well you're doing. You get guys together. I don't know.
Yeah, but you came from a discipline, you already knew a lot about airplanes. You knew about engines. You knew about how to build. You know all these other things. I'm talking about something for people who don't know any of that. We need a place where they can learn those skills.
I
yeah,
kind
that seems
of,
like a
I'd
quick
kind of like
lesson.
to see this as and I have no power over this. I'm just talking. That this wouldn't be an avenue just for people only interested in maybe in someday flying stunt. This, I think, is for anybody who wants to put something at the end of a control line, whether that be a combat plane, a speed plane, scale, team racing. I don't think it makes a difference. I think if enough people get involved in control lines, certain group is going to come toward Pampa.
That's right. Certain number will.
Certain number will.
But getting them, that's presupposing we can get them interested in control line to begin with. And
yeah,
that's
but I'd rather go to them with 5 different addresses than one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you go to a stunt contest and right next to it is combat, you know where the people are going to end up watching.
Combat.
They go to the combat. It's exciting. Or they go to racing. It's exciting. We think stunt's exciting, but maybe from a point of view of an observer,
Boring.
It may get boring. It's one plane. They're all doing the same things.
They don't know the nuances. They have no
Exactly. Exactly.
trained in that.
So my thought is to get a hold of the other SIG leaders and not to say, look, this is something that's falling under us. I just want to know if we could find some cooperation that would be, some representatives from every element of control line flying. And I think maybe the next thing to do, and again, I've thought about this a lot, but not without question. It seems like when people do, they run a test case or they run a, what do they call that? Do you run a
beta
Study.
test?
A beta
what?
test,
A
Beta
study.
Yeah,
focus group.
yeah.
study.
You try it in one part of the country and you learn from that before you try it everywhere.
That's the market.
And I think that a test case, I guess maybe that's what I was searching for.
Focus test case. Yeah.
A focus test case. And I think you can do that. And I guess my question is, I've seen it at Triple Tree for so many years now. You get people excited and you know what happens next. Ed has seen it. Bob, everyone here has seen it. They get excited and then there's nowhere to go. They're not leading with a name in their hand. They're not leaving with a partner, which is, to me, is like everything.
They're not having one person who can teach them, who will
Yes.
take them under their wings and teach them everything.
Yeah,
Little straw poll. How many people here in this forum have taken people into your shop and taught them how to build airplanes and taught them how to fly airplanes?
um, but not like you have, but I have.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it takes, though. And that's why we're here, because we're the ones interested in this.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of
Exactly.
people out there who, for whom they only have so much time in their day, and they have responsible jobs in many cases, and their interest is to fly in our realm competition aerobatics. So they're going to take every spare moment and put it into their program because that's what they want to do, and you can't blame them. I
Right.
mean, that's what they wanted. I was like that for a long time. I was focused on just flying stunt, and then after a while, you find out you have more fun by getting more people into it. But not everybody looks at that way.
No, they don't. If ideally, I would love to find a crew of retired modelers and ask them, would you be willing to find someone and invite them into your shop and see if we could, introduce, you have the time. Most retired people have the time. So the keys to me this are you need something that this new person can acquire and build. So therefore, you need someone who's going to make these things available somehow. So you need a production end. You need something that we agree whoever's going to do this is not a world championship shark, nor is it need to be. It's just something that can take a hit. Takes a small electric motor, takes a small electric battery. You can use a simple charger. They can go by fishing line. I mean, to get started is not terribly expensive. Okay, so someone has to be responsible for, okay, here's the box. Okay, I think if you ask someone who's new in this and you give them a list of 50 other places to go to get everything they need, I don't think it's going to work.
There's more to it than that. I mean, go back one step further. The skills that the average kid today has in building are non-existent. They didn't have shop classes like Ed was talking about before, or somebody else was talking about. They didn't have shop classes. They didn't have fathers who built things, who made things, who used their hands. Today, we're in an instant gratification society where you can buy everything you want and you don't have to work on anything. And if it takes them more than 10 minutes to get in their minds that they're an expert at it, they don't want to do it.
Yep.
So how are you
Yeah,
going
and
to do that?
that's another piece.
How about teaching how to read a ruler in mechanic school that they're doing now?
Yeah.
Had different skills than the kids today have, and we had a different environment, and again, different motivation than they have. They don't have a love of aviation like we did, and you can't expect them to.
No. But at the other side of this, I made the comment before, if I could get 1% of the 12,000, for us, that's a big number. We don't need a huge number. We have, I don't know how many Pampa members we have, maybe 280, maybe 290. I haven't looked at it recently. And would they all agree to do this? No. Would a quarter? I don't know, 20%? It'd be a low number, I'm afraid.
Yep.
Okay, so if that ends up being 40, I don't know, maybe we could get 20 modelers. Maybe we could get 20 new people. I'd rather have 20 than none. And if the model works, if it's working, this package we're doing, and it would also, of course, it would be good for AMA. They would get a new member. So they should have a piece of this. They really need to, whether it's money, whether it's product, whether it's publication, I don't know where, but that's the whole thing that keeps them alive, is membership. If you don't have the membership, then you're not going to have the circulation for the magazine, and you lose your advertisers, and you get into the spin. And then, of course, you have the questions of, okay, where do you fly?
I was going to bring that right up just next, because where do you fly? We could fly in any ballpark when we were kids, and even with open pipe, and nobody seemed to care. We were doing something, and today you do that, cops come immediately to rescue. I had a friend of mine, you know him, Dean Pappas.
Yeah.
Went to Cooper Union University, right on the Hudson there. He's an engineer. And one day he took a high start 2 meter sailplane and with him to school. And after school, they went out to this park and he shot that thing up, no motor, no engine, no nothing. They got a noise complaint.
Eesh.
So they shut him down. The cops got a noise complaint.
Yeah.
People don't want anybody to have fun. That's part of it.
Well, I think we need to tag on to someone else. I think we need some partners. I don't think I tell people if you have an acre, you can build a circle. That would give you a circle, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you try to find an acre, you get all kinds of reasons why it's not available.
Dollars.
But there are organizations that have an acre, and I think if we can figure out who could our partners be, who would be interested in young people getting interested in aviation. I mean, Ed's doing that in West Virginia, trying to get people interested in careers.
You would think that the aviation industry would be all over this, trying to start programs and get people like us who have time, get us involved in teaching kids, but they don't seem to be. They're losing pilots, they're losing mechanics. They don't know where the next generation of these people are going to come. We got to generate an interest in aviation.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, through donations, mostly aviation companies and the local counties, I raised 20,000 each year to put it on.
Yeah, which is a drop. It's a lot. It's very nice and it's very generous, but it's a drop in the bucket nationally. And we need to partner with any aviation organization in any way, shape, or form, and sell them on the fact that if you want to have people in aviation, you got to develop a love of aviation. And we're going to have to do it from a different position than we came from. Because again, we came out of the World War II thing. People, the pilots and the airplanes and the romance of the whole thing, that was natural for us. And aviation was in our face every day. It's not in the face of kids today. Getting them to look at it through our eyes is going to be impossible. We have to look at it through their eyes. What's going to excite them to get them into this? We can't make them see it from our perspective.
And that's a good point. I've talked to the guys that fly at Oshkosh. They fly, control line planes, and the incredible number of people that have come through and fly. But it turns out it's not a recruiting effort. It's entertainment. And it's just like it's very close to Triple Tree. Everyone loves it, they're having a great time, and then it just disappears. Ed, I don't know if you're able to, get some data on what what's happened, because your cycle though is much longer. These people could be 10 years and they get into aviation. So you have a different, your window is different than our window.
Yeah. Most of the companies here are looking for high school juniors and seniors because they're trying to get them to go into the program.
Yep.
Whereas I'm mainly going to the middle school to get them advised of what's going on, or early high school and stuff. So, and that's a tough one, but it's just amazing on how the parents that I've talked to have no idea about it and what the opportunities are.
Yep. I also go back to, and I don't know exactly how you do this, but it just seems like every time there's a control line contest or even Triple Tree, I've never heard Pat or any of those people saying, we should invite people down here who are not in the hobby, and have some people.
We're preaching to the choir what we're doing.
Yeah.
John Miller's got something to say, guys, looks like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to point out, going with what Bob has said and what you've said, Mark, and I think, just about everybody that's spoken here has said something. We talk about that acre of land there, Mark.
Yeah.
I live in a rural area, and I've made arrangements for 3 acres of land because I was going to put in a hobby port, but then I couldn't get any interest, so I could. But I mean, it was cheap, $300 a year. we need to work on the larger cities where there's more people. We got, like was said, we got kicked out of the schools and the parks and things like that. We're now talking about putting people flying out, 10, 15 miles out of a major town because of the noise. And what we need to perhaps do is go to the city councils again and say, look, we're flying electric. It's safe, stress the safety, stress that it's quiet, stress the advantages, and see if they won't donate an acre somewhere that's within this closer into the town where kids can ride to on their bikes if that's what they have to do, or be better exposed to it. I think that might be something worthwhile looking into.
It would be. It would be, but there's a way to approach it that Mark and I have already taken to the AMA Executive Council and presented it to them, and they go, "Oh, what a great idea!" But we haven't seen anything happen.
Yeah.
If you look at local localities, they have baseball fields, soccer fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, everything for people who are athletically inclined, but
Yep.
nothing for people who are technically inclined. And we're still people, we still are taxpayers and constituents, and we need to not hold our hand out like Oliver and say, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" We need to be saying, where is ours?
Well-
If we want to be engineers, we got to develop people who have an interest in technical things. And there's no place to engage in technical hobbies around here. You're not helping.
You
We
are
need to
so
get a little
right.
bit forceful about it.
You are so right on that. And I think part of it is we're not looked upon as a sport, but it is a sport.
And that's not what we're not looked upon as. We're not looked upon as votes.
Right.
More people
We're
who
also-
play baseball and soccer, and their parents are voters.
We lost in Salt Lake City, we lost a 17-acre model port to now there's like 17 soccer fields
There
there.
you go.
And you go by there and they're
Empty.
6 days out of the week, there's nobody there.
And you're not allowed to fly on them.
We're not allowed to fly on them. Yeah.
Now that's what you should be saying to them. Look, we have the facilities. We don't have to build anything special for us. Just let us use the ones that are already here when they're not being used. What can
Well,
they
the
say?
the city and the county did. We have a landfill, okay, and they've all sealed it all off. We have the whole that top of that landfill has been leveled off, and we have that's a model port now. Okay, but listen, we had a 400-foot runway. We were getting ready to put circles in. We had bleachers. We had a sunshade. We had a shack that we could lock up so you could leave our gear in there. We were holding contests and whatever in there, RC contest, pattern, and other. And when it came down to it, we had huge amount of people that wanted to put a soccer field in there. And they said, we've got all of these people, all these kids that could, you got 25 old men that are using this, and that's why we lost.
There's a field around that has even more than that. There's a field that has several radio control runways, that has control line circles, that has everything you could possibly imagine. It's called AMA. Now,
Yeah.
how many people from Muncie come out and fly there?
Right.
You have it right there. And you can't even get people in Muncie to go with the best facility in the world, and they don't come out and fly. I mean, I hate to throw a wet blanket on this, but we got to look at it from a realistic point of view too.
I can't believe how many people in Muncie don't even know it's there.
How about it?
That's true.
How many
And
people are in
when
Muncie?
you had a world championships there, did they advertise it to the people? They were having people from all over the world come here for an international event, and it's free for you to come out and watch it and learn about it. And even hopefully we could have had people out there with trainers and teach people to fly. You could even learn how to do it. None of that happened.
It's too bad we couldn't get somebody that knew what they're doing with videographies and do a special on what we do and bringing a kid up through it, the contest, the challenge. They used to do that years ago.
All it takes is money.
Well,
And it takes interest.
Yeah,
Yeah, and John, you're raising a great point. I've worked in local governments and regional governments, and if I have two people coming to me looking for land, and one has 400 that are ready to go, and the other has 25, it's not going to be a hard decision for me.
no,
It really isn't. And that's why I'm thinking, I think to do this as a completely separate entity from anything other than maybe than an RC club, I think is a mistake. I don't think we have the resources, the money, enough people anywhere to do this. But if we could piggyback on
Well,
another organization,
yeah, and Mark, I agree with you. I think we need to try to see if we can't get model aviation, RC, control line, whatever, get them closer back to the cities where our target audience is living and will be affected by it, either by hearing it, by seeing it as they drive by, or whatever. It'll be, because right now you're out 25 miles out in the boondocks, out in BF Egypt. They're not going to see it. It's going to be out of sight, out of mind.
yeah.
I ask for just a little clarification here for a second, because I kind of getting a little confused. Because we're talking about, so we've got Ed who's working on trying to get more kids to consider a career in aviation, which, that's admirable.
Well, it leads to it, yeah.
John's talking about, we need more people interested in model aviation in general. There's a little bit of discussion about, we just want more people to fly control line. And then again, the Pampa president's here. So ultimately you'd think we want more people flying control line stunt.
Yeah,
And
but he's a lame
like
duck.
those are they're not mutually inclusive from my perspective anyway.
Well,
But
look
maybe
at my
I'm
channel. There's
missing-
4,660. There's 4,666 members in the world, and I'm thankful to have them. But that's probably everybody in the world that does this. 4,600 people.
Well, there's a lot of people on Facebook that we've never heard of who fly sport control line. I've never been a Facebook guy, but I was tempted. I went on it because somebody said there's something on there you should see, and I couldn't get on. So I actually joined Facebook for the first time. I'm very much against it, but I did it. And you go into these general groups, and there are people we've never even dreamed about hearing about, and they're on their flying airplanes. They're doing flying ringmasters and shoestrings and whatever else. There's a lot of people doing this. It's trying to get them all together, walking in the same direction. That's the problem, and we got to find a way to instill a love of aviation. That's the central thing. If they don't like airplanes, they're not going to like model airplanes.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about this selfishly for Pampa. I'm thinking that if people can experience at any age the joy that we experience, that's a good thing. And if some of them decide to come this way, that's great. If they go that way, that's just as great.
It's all model aviation. It's all
model aviation.
Okay, let me be the devil's advocate one more time. All right, we're trying to get them to look at our thing from the perspective of how much joy we get out of what we do. Have we looked at what they do, how much joy they get out of what they're doing? We're trying to say, come do what we do. And they're going to say, well, why don't you come look at what I do? Yeah, maybe they're already enjoying themselves doing something. The vast majority of these kids are into video games and things like that, and they enjoy it. They're entitled to their,
that's akin to the old thought of when you're talking to a fellow hobbyist and they say, well, what do you fly? And you say, I fly controller. Well, when are you going to advance to RC? I mean, I can't tell you. I'm not putting them down. That's the thought process. Yes.
Yeah, but they're saying to us, why don't you come over here and do this? One of the big things now, and I almost got into it. A matter of fact, I'm staying away from it because I'm scared I really would get into it, is this online video aerial fighting, with you can be a member of a squadron and fly and do the whole thing. That sounds like it would be a blast, but I'm not going to get into it because it would take all my time and all my energy and whatever little time I have left. I have hobby interests. But they already have those interests. You're going to lure them away from those for what we do? I doubt it. You might get some, but you're not going to get what we think we're going to get. It's never going to be the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s again, ever.
Did you guys read Dan McEntee's posts about his very first post in that thread?
Yeah, I did.
And I agree completely with him in that
Yeah.
you're wasting your time after kids. It seems like it's a now not considering what you're doing, Ed, that's different matter. You're trying to get people to think on a career level, and that's you would start with young people. But if you want more people to come do what we're doing here with a control line airplane, going directly after a kid it's a losing battle
It
because
is.
if they're
Unless you're a grandfather who
Well,
flies control line.
how
who
many
can-
grandfathers are on Stunt Hangar that have kids that
Yeah.
grandkids they don't care what you do, even
That's
though
a resource. That's a
you know
resource.
what I mean? That's so, but without going after the adult, you could get the adult and then the adult brings the kids, perhaps. But to just go straight to the kid, if you haven't hooked the adult in their life, you're probably not going to get anywhere, you know?
That's right.
And
Wow.
compound
And
that
what's
with the fact that in 2024, we talked about, you can't even you can't go out in the circle and put your arm on a kid's back and guide them around. So it's not, you need their adult to be around now. You can't just say, oh, well, I'll bring them with me. Like, no, you're going to jail,
That's right. That's
like
right.
it's a different time now.
Yes, it is.
well,
And-
it'll be interesting.
Go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
It'll be interesting because one of the kids that said he was interested in a model club was also the father was too. So it was a father and son.
That's-
So
that's
sure.
We get a lot of that in our RC club, fathers and sons coming together. That's a nice thing.
yeah, so
If
we'll
you've
see.
not-
We'll
you
see.
Having said that, the older guys, they also have their own interests and they're entitled to them. They have golf, they have shooting, they have bowling, they have whatever they're into for their life. You're not going to lure them away from their passion to our passion, by and large. So I think we're looking at a diminishing number and an idea whose time has maybe come and gone, unfortunately. We all know how much fun it is, how rewarding it is, how much you learn, the skills, all of it we know. But getting somebody else to look at it from our perspective is going to be very, very difficult.
If you've been on here, I don't know, 6 months, you've probably heard me say this, and I still believe it. Because I've said it 1,000 times, that if you're looking for an ideal candidate to fly control line that's never done it before, the worst you can do is a child. They don't have transportation. They don't have disposable income.
Yep.
They don't have any of the things that someone who needs it. They may not have a shop. And as soon as I figure out how to do this, I've said it before, I'm going to do it. If you ask me where to go, I'd go to AARP.
Well, that's a good point.
They're representing the people who think more like we do.
And had a love of aviation when they were younger.
I see that at Triple Tree all the time. Didn't know you guys still do this.
Yeah.
They don't hear it, and they don't see it. And again, I guess I'm stubborn. I'd rather try something and fail than not do anything at all,
Well,
whatever
how
that means.
Yeah, I've had 3-4 guys that said they just can't do it because of spinning around. I says, well, it just takes a little bit of practice.
In some
Yeah.
cases,
That used to do it.
They have vertigo or whatever, they can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, the cards are stacked against us. I said that when I first came on. We had hobby shops. We had products that people could afford. We had a lot of people who would show up on the weekends at the circles. When I was starting to learn how to fly, I had a way to turn. You just couldn't fly. There were guys in front of you, right?
Yeah.
It's just something that I just have a passion. I remember saying this a year ago at the banquet, at the 2023 banquet, when guys like Dave Fitzgerald and that ilk of guys, retire and they're due for their awards, who's going to be in the audience? Who's going to be there? And I didn't want to be responsible for that because they deserve what anyone else deserves.
Can I point out one more thing here that just from a completely different perspective? There's one guy here doing what we love doing. Sparky, he's building an airplane.
Yep.
Now, we sat here and spent the last better than an hour talking about this problem. But our passion is passing us by because we are involved in this hobby. We want to have fun doing it. And we're all lamenting the fact that it's going away and trying to make it live again instead of enjoying the time we have left in it.
Well, that's a popular stance, Bob.
We're not talking about airplanes here. We're not
Well,
talking about building.
I can
We're
tell
not
you
talking
what-
about making a cowling fit over a head of an engine properly, like we just saw him do.
Well, look, logically, that's the way to go. The way to go would be, we'll keep doing what we're doing until people can't do it anymore, and then we'll be in the history book like a lot of other things.
But let's not forget on these meetings to have some fun talking about what we're doing ourselves. You know, about hey, what are you building? Hey, John, what are you building? You know, real
Well,
Steve Smith, what are you building?
That's probably my fault because I came in here and you guys were talking about
I know what you're building. You're building a prowler.
topic.
Right, well, right now, I'm trying to get a new CAD program installed. Find one, because the one I use, they raised the price to the point that I could no longer justify having it. So, but you know what my biggest part in the hobby right now is doing the design and the drawing work. I enjoy that. You know, my hands are at a point that it's hard for me to build, you know, and I don't know if I can fly anymore.
But that's still a viable part of it. You're
Yes.
using your mind to make things and design things. And Sparky's building, and you know, everybody here is doing something in our shops. No matter what it is, we're doing something, and we're enjoying the hobby. And this whole thing we just went through, I'm not saying it's a bad thing; it's a good thing, but it's also depressing in a way.
It is, you know, I was just thinking, because it was made mention about kids not having a shop, and I remember my first shop was a piece of plywood in my bedroom.
Yeah, we all had bedroom shops. I'm sure you know where we built.
Yeah, I'm sure you did too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, my first X-Acto knife was a double-edged razor blade. I had to fold a piece of cardboard over to keep from cutting my fingers off.
Well, Bob said that I was fitting a cowl. See what I did there? I glued my finger to that, and it kicked off when I pulled it loose. It pulled the wood loose.
Oh no!
That's easy to fix.
I'd never done
Yeah.
anything like that ever.
Yeah, me neither. Right? Yeah.
It's my thing with this hobby is the creativity. You know, I want to create something beautiful. That's what drew me to this event. You know, I saw those beautiful airplanes, and I asked Bill Noyes, "Where do you get them?" He said, "You got to make them." I said, "Well, shit, you got to make them. I got to learn how to do it." So.
And how many kids are going to follow that thought process today? They're going to come out and say, "Well, that's beautiful.
Again,
Where do you buy it?" Well, you don't. You got to spend 400 hours building it after you spend several thousand hours learning how to build and finding the materials that we used to be able to get for 10 cents a piece when we were kids are now. I went out and priced a piece of balsa wood the other day at a hobby shop. A really nice piece of balsa. I wanted to buy it. 3/8 by 4 by 36. What do you think it cost?
3/8 by 20. It's about $18 for that.
$25.95.
Yeah. It was 20. What did I say? It was $24.99 for a 1-inch by 3-inch by 36.
You got a bargain.
Well, I got the last one I got was for $14.99.
Yeah, but I'm saying, this is indicative of one of the problems. We're looking at it again from the perspective of how we came up the ladder. We learned how to build because our parents were fine with it. Hey, they let us use X-Acto knives by ourselves in our bedroom making airplanes. How many people are going to let their kids do that today? And if they do get cut, then they're going to sue the guy who sold them the knife or the manufacturer.
More reasons why we don't need to worry about the kids.
I
just
built
bought
half.
20
I agree with
sheets
that.
from National Balsa, 16th-inch sheeting, 3 inches wide. You know, contest wood was $6.39 a piece. And in my rack, I have some wood that's 23 cents for the same piece.
I had some 12-cent 16ths from testers back from the 50s.
I built about half of the 10-cent Comet kits way back then. And I bet those 10-cent comic kits would probably be about 30, 40 bucks, maybe more now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even with the print wood.
You guys
know,
would start selling your stuff instead of hoarding it. The prices.
That's our retirement.
Here's what I found out. We in our RC field, you got people that comes down and wants to watch them fly. Okay, so someone flies, then maybe the next an hour, the pilots are all sitting around talking and nobody's flying.
That's
So then
right.
they get disgusted and they leave. You know,
Yeah.
where now Joe Knoll, I mean, my gosh, you're standing in line, you can't hardly get a time to spy.
Yeah.
You know, so
In a lot of ways, we're treating the symptom, not the disease here.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah, Bob, you said something I think about a lot. I see I hear conversations like this, and I see efforts being put forth, and perhaps it's taking away from some people's the time they have to actually enjoy the hobby. And then on top of that, it feels like failure
Yep.
because we're trying to measure it through a 50-year-old
lens.
glass. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't think that's productive today. I don't think it helps us. I think underlying all of this is that are there some young people out there with that burning desire that love aircraft? Yeah. But guess what? It's 1 out of 200,000 people. It's not like the old days where you expose 100 kids to this and half of them want to do it. If
Or
that's
Yeah.
what if that's
Yeah,
what we
but-
expect, it's going to be miserable.
But wait, now I flew with probably maybe 20 guys. Not one of them when I was a kid is flying today. So, you know, what do you
Well, and it changes over time too, but I do think that those I've seen them. I've got a grandson and a nephew that have expressed a little interest, but I just think that we have to have the right balance. We have to continue to enjoy what we love.
Yep.
Yes. Should we ignore this topic? No, no. But it can't be approached in the way that it's been approached in the past. And how we evaluate our success at doing what we can do, we need to look at that differently too. Again, there's people out there, and over time, I think they might trickle in. Maybe that pendulum swings. That was an interesting concept you brought up earlier, Bob. But we can't move that pendulum.
Going to happen as it happens.
It moves on its own.
Right.
So I think we got to have balance and make sure we're enjoying what we're doing.
And the only guy right now is doing what we're all interested in is Sparky. He's working on an airplane right here.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm working on them.
I did earlier.
Well, the point I'm making is that
Yeah.
okay, maybe we should police ourselves a little bit to say we talk about this subject and get the thoughts out that we can get out about it, and then cut it off at a certain point and talk about what we're into, because otherwise this is going to get to be a thing where you can say, well, I'm not going to go on that chat anymore because all we talk about is trying to save the hobby.
I support that.
Good point.
So I'm not saying we should not talk about it, but we
Right.
should limit it to a certain amount of time and say, okay, now let's talk about Mark. What are you building? I know you got a new airplane going. How's it going?
yeah, Mark, how's it going?
Yeah, Mark.
How's it going, Mark?
Oh,
You gonna
I can
show
hear
us
Mark
something?
Weiss.
I'm
No,
still
Mark.
here. I'm,
Oh,
I'd rather not comment on that right now.
oh.
No, seriously.
Oh,
That's
Seriously.
good,
seriously,
huh?
Mark Gerber, show
Mark,
us
Mark Gerber, yeah.
show
How
us
you doing?
what you got doing on your airplane. You're a wonderful builder.
I can show you a few things been going on.
It's kind of neat too how he always
The
photographs a
sharing
lot of
is not
stuff.
turned on, Sparky. You got my request to turn on the sharing, Sparky?
Yeah, he's trying.
Okay. There we go.
He might be glued to his cowling again.
There we go.
So this is my workshop last week. And for years I've had 6 bulb sockets in the basement. And I keep putting brighter and brighter bulbs in them, and I finally bit the bullet this week and had new lighting installed. So there it is now.
Wow.
So
Whoa,
LED,
what's that?
LED,
Yeah, they are.
isn't that nice?
They work
Got 'em
really
in the
nice.
app.
You can
Sun's shining down here
selectable
now.
colors.
Go back
so
to
you
the
get
other picture just for a minute. Go back to the other picture. Now go back. Wow.
yeah.
There you go.
Remember when
That's
your
nice.
paint jobs used to look good? Now you got all those lights and see everything.
Yeah,
And you
that'd be my.
could double that amount of light and still not have too much.
That's
Well, that's
right.
what Keith Trossel says. You can't have too much light in your
That's
workshop.
right.
Absolutely.
Well, it almost looks like the Michelin Man back there.
But these, oh, that's actually a snowman. My wife's Christmas decoration that she doesn't use this year. But
Gotcha.
these lights are, you can select the illumination so you can make it brighter or dimmer with a switch up on the light.
Mm-hmm.
You have to climb up here and toggle it, but
You can
I got all these
select the
on bright.
Kelvin. Is that what you're saying? You can select the Kelvin so you can make it look like cool
No,
light or
yeah,
bright?
that's the other switch.
Yeah.
Is you can select the wavelength so you can get it warm or you can get it daylight
Mm.
type.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is the 4,000 sort of Kelvin setting, which is kind of in between, which is what Stephen McBride suggested. He said most of his customers use that. So, and here's the shot the other way across the
Mm.
the basement. So anyway, this was really,
Nice.
my wife wasn't as excited as I was, but
Yeah. I like it.
so back to airplane building. Here's the Bearcat a week or two ago. What I'm working on right now is the cover for the cowling up here in the front. So here's the bottom part of the fuselage blank, the mold. And then here's the piece of wood that I laminated following Bob Hunt's instructions.
Yeah.
And I took vinegar following Bob Hunt's instructions and soaked one side of it, and I taped it on with masking tape
Yep.
and let it set overnight. And I moved the masking tape one tape width and let it set another half a day. And I
Now
got a pretty
your plane will
good,
smell like a salad.
only for a day or so.
That's
It
right.
goes away. And there's a resulting cowl shell. So
Yeah.
Let me interject something real quick. You talked about not putting vinegar on it or put whatever. You know what I'm doing now? I got a spray bottle that's got 4 ounces of 91 proof alcohol in it, and then fill it up and then just spray it on and wipe it off, and you can bend the wood.
Cool.
yeah, I think there's probably a bunch of different ways to do this, but
Well, I got a steam box, but that's such a pain in the butt to get out. I said,
Yeah.
man, I wonder if this will work if I just spray it. And sure enough, I just spray it and get it, pretty soaked, but then wipe it off with a paper towel and then bend it.
Mark, what glue did you use to put the 2 sheets together?
Tight Bond 3. Bob Hunt says
Type Bond
that's the
3?
best glue
Okay, I
you can
thought so.
have for model airplanes.
Yeah.
He's shaking his head. Yeah.
That's what this is. Same way. Tight Bond 3, 2 sheets, 16th. It works great.
I put a piece of tape. I sand both edges so they're flat, and they butt up really well. And then I set them together. I have some weights I put on them to move them together, make sure they're good and tight. And I put a piece of masking tape down the seam.
Yep.
And then you can fold it back so
Yep.
it opens up the crack, and then put the glue in there
Yeah.
and flatten it back out. And I
Wipe it
wipe
off.
off the excess glue. And I
then
got a
you can
couple of
close the
sheets
seam.
of
And you can pre-sand the seam before you mold it.
right. And here it is after. This is after I glued it and sanded a little bit. And I also had had cut out a template, so I knew what the shape was I needed to fit over the mold. Because you can get, too much some places and not enough other places. So that's, I've made a big template for this whole mold. To show me what I need to cut the wood, no matter where I do it. But anyway, I put the glue in there and I put weights on it with wax paper and let it set overnight, and that usually does it.
Mhm.
And you go from there. And
One thing I found out about the Type-On 3 is, like any glue, if you glue it and then the next day put it in a bath of water, if you're going to soak it to mold it, sometimes it'll come apart. But if you let it sit for 2 or 3 days, then it's completely waterproof. It won't come apart.
yeah, I discovered that the hard way too.
Yeah, so did I.
You don't rush it.
Can't rush it. You got to savor it.
But anyway, this is a technique that Bob
Mm.
had on his video and told me over the phone. And it works well. So now I got to put a few supports inside this to stiffen it up a little bit. And then I'll start trimming it so it fits into this spot up here. This has already been sanded back, so it's flush, but I'll trim it so it fits in here, and then I'll start putting in the supports for the T-nuts, and then do the Al-Rabi bit, put it on there and make sure it's good and tight, and then take a pen and find all the holes where the T-nuts are, and then I'll take a little drill and make about a 1/4 inch hole, and I make these little pieces of basswood with a countersink hole in the middle of them, and I'll glue those in there, and then they match up to the holes on the mounts. And once it all dries, I got these little 256 screws
Mhm.
they use to hold the cowl on. So it worked good on the first one, and it should work good on this one too. So
Great.
Well, I got to give Bob Hunt credit because in 2004, when I started building those Thunderbolts, I did some straight form molding, very little. I didn't really know how to do it until I bought Bob Hunt's videos. And so Bob Hunt taught me
Well,
his videos taught me.
I appreciate that the credit, but the credit really goes to Billy Werwich because he taught me how to do the compound curves. That was actually the compound curve part of that video was done by Billy, so he gets full credit for that, and I learned from him.
the first
worked.
mention I saw of this molding process was like in 1970.
Al Reeby.
Now it wasn't Al, it was somebody else who was making a glider
Oh, okay.
and American Modeler, and they showed how you make a mold and take the pieces and boil them. I think they boiled them in water.
Yep.
Get them soft, and then put them around and tape them and let it sit for a while.
Well, my
And I molded.
extent of molding was like a turtle deck. I could do that.
Yeah. I
But-
molded pieces for my Ryan. That was my first one I molded, and then I molded pieces for my actually no, the first one I molded was my Hurricane, the turtle deck for that. And then I molded both the top and the bottom of my Ryan. And of course, those are smaller, much smaller pieces, and I used 1/8 of an inch, which now seems like overkill, but it worked fine. And then I did the same thing with my P40. I molded the turtle deck and the bottom part of the fuselage. So when Keith Trossel was talking to me about building a Bearcat, he said, "How would you build it?" I said, "I'd mold it." I said, how did you do yours?" He says, "I planked it."
Yeah.
But
That's an
Keith is a
ancient
scale
technique,
builder. I
planking.
think he was familiar with planking and knew how to do it well. So it sure looked good. I couldn't see any seams on his Bearcat.
It's heavier though. Planking is heavier than molding because you do have extra glue and things.
Anyway, that's what I've been up to this week. And
Yeah, see, now that was fun.
Cool.
That was fun.
But that's sort of the way I look at this is, been retired now for almost 5 years, and that's my job in retirement is to have fun building model airplanes, flying model airplanes.
And you do it well too, my friend. I was really impressed with your Bearcat you had out at Rodax that year I judged.
Well, he didn't look at it too closely, so.
Well, the one you had last 2 years back when I gave you the prop, that was a beautiful airplane.
Yeah, but it had a few flaws on it that
They
well, you
all
saw
have flaws.
you saw the wrinkles in the flaps.
Yeah, our airplanes don't have any flaws there, Mark. So.
Mhm.
This new one won't have any flaws.
Well, that's why we keep building it. The next one's always going to be better.
Not in my
I
case.
always said the second airplane you build is always better than the first one.
That's right.
Mark, what you do in retirement, what you've been doing for 5 years, is that something you thought about for many years leading up to your retirement and look forward to getting to, or
Well,
not?
For many years, I thought I'd never be able to retire. And then I thought I probably wouldn't live long enough to retire. But then I found out I was 70 years old, so I wasn't getting any more Social Security if I worked any longer. And I was financially able to do it. So I said, okay, I'm going to retire and start building model. I thought I would also build model trains, but I haven't had nearly as much time as I thought in retirement. So I've stuck with model airplanes. Except when Christmas comes, I put a train under the tree and runs around in circles. But
Sounds like my story.
We do
but
too.
I wish I had spent more time thinking about it because like putting the lights in a workshop, I could have done that, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And some of the other, some of the other things I've done in the workshop could have been done a long time ago to make life a little bit better.
Remember in Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase when he plugged the lights in and they finally went on the house?
Yeah.
And you looked over at the meter and it was spinning like a propeller. That's what a shop should be.
Well, lights are very important because that's how I lost I didn't lose my sight, but that's when I started going dim, is I was working at Harley Davidson and it was like a cave. And, trying to read those schematics and look at that little shit in the dark, I think it ruined my eyes.
Yeah.
Well, I had a flashlight that I always used. It's a little handheld thing. And, as I started working inside an airplane, I'd get that out. And that's how I had enough light to see. That was really stupid. I should have had.
I just bought an attachment, a light that goes on your paint gun. And I'll get it probably on Monday. So you can see your painting. What?
That'll be interesting.
You
have to show that to us, Sparky.
Well, I saw it on YouTube. I saw a video. You can buy a real expensive one, $1,500 or $3. I bought a $35 one off Amazon that you either turn it on or turn it off. It doesn't go on and off with the trigger, but that's good enough.
But Bob was mentioning the electric meter going around in circles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about these LED lights is they draw very little current.
They do. Yeah.
And
I got to place them on my shop too.
I've got 18 lights in my basement now, and they draw less current than the 6 incandescent bulbs I had before.
Good point.
It's amazing, but they're really efficient.
I think I ought to look into LEDs. I got regular fluorescents, but they're low voltage too. They're 12 volt.
Anyway, Home Depot's got them. Lowe's has got them. In fact, the electrician that I had do this work got the lights from Lowe's.
There are some LED lights, really nice lights with multiple arms coming off of them that you can screw into an old-fashioned socket too.
Yeah, that's right. I saw some of those too.
They're fabulous. Yeah.
Well, everybody's there's my main project here for this month is my shop is too small. I can't hardly move around in it, can't build anything in it. And I don't have any bigger rooms, so the other bedroom is now empty. And I'm gonna move all my saws and cutting materials and that into that room. And then I'll cut and prepare in there, and then I'll take it in the other room where I'll assemble. So that's my goal for the first of this month, and then next month get that all set up. Then I'll see if I can't get an airplane built through the rest of the building season. And on that tandem twin, I've decided not to go with vectored thrust on this one. I think I'll build this one with regular flaps and set up pretty much normal, and then see how that goes. Sometimes you get too many things going on at once, and you don't know what worked good and what didn't.
That's true.
So that's what I'm trying to do too. Getting rid of a bunch of junk and stuff to open up so I can get back to the planes.
There you go.
Place to build. Yeah.
Gary, you don't, I think I remember you saying you don't fly anymore, but you did at one time, right?
Oh yeah.
What did you fly?
Well, just ringmaster and
Sport?
just some little, yeah, this sports,
Sport flying?
half
Okay.
A, yeah, yeah.
All right.
A little bit of rat racing there once in a while. And
No.
I think even combat a little bit too, I think, but
Okay. Bob, when I retired at the end of 22, early in and that was my story. I couldn't wait to have time for model airplanes, and I was so excited to jump in. You were nice enough to spend some time with me on the phone in early 23, and I still have notes from that conversation. And I pull them out once in a while, and I was only doing internal combustion, and you were great to help me with that. But you also explained to me what electric was and what some of the advantages were, and I have notes on that. And the reason I'm telling the story is because last year, second half of the summer, I got to know Denny Adamison, and he sold me a couple of electric stunners, a Cardinal and a Pathfinder. And oh my God, I haven't flipped a propeller since the first time I mean, suddenly I turn a switch and the airplane flies at whatever pace I set it at, and it stays out on the lines. And what a joy!
Yeah, but having said that, and thank you for reminding everybody that I helped you. But that's nice. But you got to remember too that a lot of people get the joy out of this hobby again because we were kids and we liked glow. A lot of people like glow because of the nostalgia part of it. It may, it doesn't matter which spins the prop. Whether it be glow, electric, nuclear, steam, or two chipmunks on a turntable. The important thing is to enjoy flying model airplanes.
And I'm one of those. I love it. The smell of burnt glow fuel is something that still excites me. Okay.
Yeah.
But the difference is, I guess maybe my situation's a little unique. I have a couple acres behind the house, and I can fly here. And if I've got a window of 45 minutes, that's not enough time to go out there and fly glow.
Yeah.
But if my batteries are charged up, I can get 3-4 flights in. Boom. And so I fly way more than I used to because of that.
You're preaching to the choir with me, but again, I got to be careful because I tend to be a little bit of a Don Quixote about electric because of how much I enjoy it. But I know that other people enjoy glow just as much, and that's something I respect. So
Absolutely, so do I, and I'll fly some of it. But that was just a light bulb thing for me, and I've even since converted an old Twister to electric, and that was fun to do too.
trying to find pictures of my shop. I have some pictures of my shop in here someplace, and it shows how much lighting I have, which is, well, Mark can tell you it's a little crazy. Mark Weiss can, if he's still here.
Yeah, he's here. Mhm.
He's licking his lips. I think he's getting ready to.
Nope.
The other room, there's 3. You can't see in there. That's really, you can't see. There's 3 in there. Well, I'm going to shut the YouTube off, and we can have the after party. We'll have the real Steve Smith. You know, he's our host afterwards. For you guys out there on YouTube, I want to thank you for watching.
Let's watch it.
Thanks, Sparky.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sparky.
let
Yeah,
me
thanks.
let me get to it here. It's always a bitch to shut this off live. Okay, here we go. All right, studio. All right, out there in YouTube, we'll be back on tomorrow. Thanks for watching, Terry and Wayne and Tony. That's all we had for chat. We didn't have much chat. Like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you tomorrow. Fair winds, tight lines. See ya. All right, we're off of YouTube.
Okay.
And
Okay.